Hello, my name is Kurt Brown, also known as Saint Rambo. I have a website titled Mobile Audit Club. I was held down and forcibly injected by the federal government on more than, actually I was held down on one occasion. Well, let me back up on this. I was a bank examiner for the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. A man had been killed in his office and it was labeled suicide. I saw bank charters being issued to people in California who came over from Nevada, who obviously had links into casinos and most likely into the mob. Some men actually quit the FDIC in Sacramento because they saw what appeared to be criminal activity within the office. Something very odd was going on. One man who worked with me, forgive me if I use his name was Alan Lacey. He urged me to quit the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation in Sacramento because he knew what was going on and I didn't. I was naive. Later on, after I had reported money laundering and murder, there was an attack on my life and I survived it. That was in February of 2001. I had run a test on the FDIC management in San Francisco, and the National Treasury Employees Union was there also. They were represented, I'm sure. I'm very much against forced injections in the United States. In 2001, they started allowing forced injections on a wide scale in Arizona, New Mexico, and Nevada under their Chapter 36 law, which in a clause that's what I call the crazy clause. It's crazy to allow compliant people to be forcibly injected with chemicals. It's similar to rape. I was also subjected to forced medical procedures. I'm not sure what all they did to me. They led me out a back door. When I was at the Los Angeles Veterans Administration. They didn't take me down through the halls. They led me out a back door out of the building, took me down some stairs on the outside of the building, basically a fire escape, and took me over to a medical facility. At that point, I'm not sure what all they did to me. I know they had me lay on a table, did a CAT scan on my head. I'm not sure if they might have knocked me unconscious while I was there and what else they might have done to me. The Los Angeles Veterans Administration did forced injections and forced experiments on veterans. That was ordered to stop in 1999. I was injected there in 2001. And I was injected with chemicals forcibly in 2001 because I parked on their property. And I had all the information and some tapes and other information where I had been doing my own investigations of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. I am a degreed journalist. I'm also a degreed accountant. That is a very dangerous combination for those who are war criminals or financial criminals in the federal government. I was warned not to work for the federal government financial agencies by a fellow veteran. They do not like us, the disabled veterans. They claim they have EEOC and equal rights, but we do not. We do not even have human rights. I encourage young people not to work for them. I'm very much against forced injections, and I think anyone who forcibly injects a compliant and innocent person should be executed, just as they were in Nuremberg after World War II. The people of the United States are being conned. We're being we're being basically bled of our financial resources through a corrupt government. We're also losing all of our human rights and civil rights. And to see people being forcibly injected is horrific. When I saw MindFreedom.org, I saw they were talking about one man who was in a psychiatric facility at a VA facility. He was being forcibly injected with psychotropic drugs, and he eventually killed himself. I do not blame him. I would have killed myself also if I had been in that situation. The federal government was trying to lock me up for at least 5 years for daring to survive an attempt on my life, for daring to turn in Sheriff Jack Tillman of Mobile, Alabama, who was a food funds thief, who also took my gun permit when I was going to report his food funds thievery, and he had emaciated inmates. He was forced to resign. He had taken over $350,000 of inmate food funds, and his inmates were basically starving if they were there for a long term. The government there to this day will not allow me into their government meetings. It is my hope a new political party will push that government out, that we will remove the criminals in the government and their corruption out of the government. I do not think it will happen. History repeats itself. Just like Rome, it fell, so will the United States. It is my hope they will fall if they continue to inject people forcibly, if they continue to do forced experiments, if they continue to rob the American people through a corrupted banking regulatory system. In Arizona, as I said, in Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, they can inject you also. They can hold you. If you go there and import a toxic spill, for instance, and they say you're talking too fast, they can inject you. I was held down and forcibly injected in Los Angeles at the VA, Veterans Administration, by a federal official after I had come out on money laundering and murder at the FDIC. The reason for injecting me, according to the Vietnamese woman who was there, she said I spoke too fast. When I was young, I was often in a violent environment and I would stutter as a child. I learned to compensate for that as a child by speaking quickly. Now, if you look at it at this situation, here I am afraid of the government in 2001 after being attacked. I did not trust everyone. At one time I trusted Veterans Administration officials. I no longer trust the Veterans Administration at all or any other government agent. I would not care if the entire government was turned upside down and those who have corrupted us with forced injections and such are subjected to trials just as they did the Germans in Nuremberg. These people are war criminal. Their mass media does not talk about this. We are on our own. Because I spoke too fast, I was forcibly injected at the Los Angeles VA. And once when I was in forced exile, I was coming back through New Mexico. I thought what I saw was a toxic spill on the side of the road. There was a lot of water bottles there, a lot of workers cleaning up something. There had been an explosion at a refinery in Texas. That was in 2004, early 2004 in West Texas. And I didn't know maybe there was a small insurgent war going on inside the United States. So whenever I got past New Mexico, I kept driving. I pulled into Arizona. I said, look, I have a little burn on my neck. I had a small burn, like a cigarette burn or something right here. I said, what is this? Did I get into something at this toxic spill site? And it said, hold on 1 minute. They went and contacted a bunch of people and held me for 5 hours at the Flagstaff Medical Center. Now this is after I'd already been injected for speaking too quickly in 2001 at Los Angeles by federal officials. Once again, they said I spoke too quickly. When I get nervous, I speak quickly. It's because I was abused, not abused, but I was subjected to what I would consider often a horrific environment as a child. And because I am a left-hander, many of us left-handed people have a tendency to have, they're not as perfect in their speech. It's not our superior dominant part of our brain, particularly in the young, or when we're stressed. What they did to me was nothing more than a war crime. To this day, I am not allowed to own a gun in California again, which is fine with me. Guns are useless. They killed a regional director at the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation in the early 90s during the S&L crisis, savings and loan crisis. During Bush Sr.'s presidency, he was shot in his head in his office with his own gun and labeled suicide. We were not allowed to discuss this at the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation in San Francisco when I was working there as a bank examiner in 2000 and 2001. I also worked in Sacramento. I encourage people to beware of the federal government, beware on all government buildings. I no longer feel the government is my ally. I hope to leave the United States, but I do not know where to go because I feel that, much of the world's never changed. It's been the same. If you hear someone saying they agree with forced injections and such, you're probably looking at someone who would stand next to Adolf Hitler and kill children. Simply because if you're injecting a compliant and innocent person, you may be injecting them for the wrong reason. Just as I stuttered when I was a child, and often my throat would lock up, or I couldn't speak, I could not speak. I learned to speak quickly when I was stressed. The government will not hire me now as a bank examiner because of what happened. They will not even talk to me. I hope to leave the United States and work for another country's government. If necessary, I hope to overthrow those war criminals in the government who are allowing forced injections on the innocent people of the United States. This is Kurt Brown, St. Rambone of Mobile Audit Club. Search for it online.